Turns out, there was a bunch of cut content from Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time video. So the game's been out for over a month now, and I'm going to start talking about aspects of the game that is kind of entering spoiler territory. So yeah, that's your forewarning right there. Every game has cut content. There is no game that doesn't have scrapped levels, characters, ideas, and concepts. This is just the nature of game development. But some games cut more than others at different times. Like how, Twinsanity has more cut content than, actual content. Or how Cyberpunk 2077 is still somehow dropping features from their game like a hole in a candy bag, even though it was announced, 7 years ago. So, in that case, we can assume that Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time also has cut content, right? And the answer is, yeah, it does. But how did this conversation happen though? What triggered the fan base to start digging and finding these new discoveries? Well, there have been a number of things that have already come out that we haven't talked about yet, that we will talk about today, but everything started to really ramp up when a leak from the upcoming art book had come out. A picture of a piece of concept art for It Bayou had come out with a piece of text from Josh Nadelberg, the head of art at Toys for Bob, which talks about the concept for It Bayou. Quote, Crash and Coco find themselves on the edge of the canal the morning after the parade. Crash jumps on the hoverboard and makes his way through the swamp to find the mask. On his way, he must escort a Dingo's Diner food boat through the swamp, dodge deadly mines, and finally destroy Ripper-Roo, who's preventing him from making his way to the third mask. So everything about It Bayou was seemingly kept, up until the end though. Ripper-Roo was supposed to be blocking Crash from getting to Capunawa, which, with hindsight being 2020, makes sense because in It Bayou, she just kinda abruptly shows up and is just kinda sleeping. It would make more sense if someone like Ripper-Roo was blocking Crash and Coco's path to be able to get the mask. The other interesting factor is that Mosquito Marsh is one of two worlds that doesn't have some sort of a boss or a pseudo-boss fight. The Guardian from the Insanity Island could be considered as a pseudo-boss, followed by Engine's Weapon of Mass Percussion, then Luis from Salty Wharf, then Embryo in Tranquility Falls, Cortex in the 10th Dimension, the Aegipus Rex in the Aegipus Dimension, the Entropies, then Cortex again in Cortex Castle. Now, the Snacks Dimension also didn't really have a boss fight, but it kind of makes sense as to why. Now, for Ripper-Roo, sadly, he was cut from the game, but we actually do see him briefly in Offbeat. Close to the end of the level, we see him hopping around like the crazy, mad creature that he is and taking part of the celebrations of the parade, probably also having too much Wumpa Whip. Now Shemp, talked about the skins that were cut from the game in a previous video. Now we thought that maybe a Halloween DLC was coming because of the nature of some of the skins, like Werewolf Crash and Dingo Horror, but looking at the skins list again reveals some interesting details, one of which is that skins from the side playable characters were originally planned. 3 Tana skins, 4 Dingodile skins, and 5 Neo Cortex skins, along with 5 Crash skins and 2 Coco skins. Granted, some of the Crash skins likely are in the game, like Crash Pirate and Rock and Roll, but Crash Mummy and Coco Cowgirl seems to have been cut. Now here's a rendition that our lovely artist of the channel, Mel the Honeybee, had whipped up for Coco Cowgirl. You can check out her art in the description below. But some of these skins seem like they are connected with themes that are already in the game, like Shark Dingodile, which would connect with his level in the Salty Wharf. Then there's Cyberpunk Tana, which I suspect was a skin that would have been unlocked in the Snacks Dimension with her level. There is also an Alien Neo Cortex, which probably would have been for shipping error. What likely originally happened was that once you completed those levels, just like the Crash and Coco skins, you would unlock a skin for the alternative characters as well. But then things get a bit curious. There are skins that don't match level themes that are in the game at all, like the aforementioned Cowgirl Coco, Crash Mummy, and Tana Expedition. Now this is just me speculating, but I got a strong feeling that there may have been an entire world that was cut. Many skins follow themes of the worlds that they are in, like Rocket Head Crash and Coco for the world that Engine resides in, or Pirate Crash and Coco for the Salty Wharf, which is a pirate-themed level. Mummy Crash and Expedition Tana specifically seems to suggest a world that's based around pyramids, likely some sort of a callback to Warped, which had many different levels based around entering a pyramid. Which leads me to my next point of cut content. There are a bunch of unused music tracks that have been discovered. Now of course, most are just early versions of other worlds and levels, but there are some music titles and sound profiles that are completely different and unique, like Unknown Tanaverse, Take You to Paradise, Bay Breeze, Killer Surf, and yes, a level called Aren't I Clever Mummy, with mummy spelt like the dead embalmed bodies you would find in a pyramid. This to me is pretty much a soft confirmation that there was a pyramid level or a pyramid based world planned for this game, but had seemingly got cut. Now shout out to Abdul the Arabic guy for uploading all these music tracks on his channel. But not only do I think there was a scrapped world, but also a few scrapped levels. Looking at some of the other titles, Take You to Paradise and Bay Breeze, I have a feeling that these might have been levels that were initially made for Insanity Island. It is weird that there is only 2 levels in the first world, so I think that there were more originally planned, but for some reason they got cut. Now, there is also technically 4 pieces of concept art that I want you to focus on. Now, concept art varies and changes throughout all development in all games, so I am going to avoid the super early concept art from when ideas were just coming together for the game. But looking at the list of skins that were cut, unused music tracks, and some of these art pieces, I would like to think that there were other levels that were planned for the worlds that we already know, but they never made it to the end product. In this image here, we see the Insanity Island jungle landscape, but in the following image, we see the surface of reality being shattered and seen dragging on through this shattered reality. Toys for Bob may have been playing with the idea of levels being smashed together and creating new levels in its place. Another piece of concept art that I want to draw your attention to is likely an early or alternative look to Dino Dash, where instead of just running away from the Aegipus Rex, Crash, Coco, and now Tana are running with an egg. Now, when we do find Ika and Dino Dash, he is sleeping in an eggshell in-game. I wonder if originally this is how they retrieve and discover Ika, by stealing what the Aegipus Rex thinks is one of her eggs, which is an interesting concept and would explain why the Aegipus Rex would be chasing them to begin with. The last art piece is of what seems to be Cortex Castle, but with a minecart mechanic. This makes me immediately think of Donkey Kong Country. The vibes that I get from this is something along the lines of Twinsanity, where Crash and Cortex are still kind of reluctantly working together on a level, which makes me wonder if there was a story change somewhere in development. Now, there is one more set of cut content that was discovered. It has to do with the Insanely Perfect Relics. As you know, the Insanely Perfect Relic is completing a level by hitting all boxes, while also not dying once. When you complete that challenge, you receive this golden horned skull as the relic. However, there was originally other skulls as well. These 3 skulls represented what we can assume is the percentage of boxes that you got compared to how many deaths you had. You then would be awarded a different relic depending on your performance. As you can see, especially on the final one, they all build up to the icon of the Insanely Perfect Relic, which is essentially the gold version of the last skull that you see here. What I really like though is that these skulls were originally animated, which is a detail that I really would have loved to have seen in game. Also, a quick shout out to Wumpagem for finding these and sending them over to me. Now, there is one more piece of content that I want to talk about. Back during the press demo of the eventual public demo that went live, during the loading screen into Dino Dash, we saw an image that's essentially a sneak peek into the level. But there was something weird there. It was similar to the clock that you would grab at the start of a level to start a time trial, except except it had a skull and crossbones on it. The shape of the skull and teeth are extremely similar to the insanely perfect relics. I had Mel the Honeybee once again recreate this clock so that we can get a better look at it. Now, we have no idea what the actual purpose of this death clock was, but I personally do have an idea of a feature that may have been dropped from the game. So we know that when you complete a level, you unlock the time trials, right? Well, for the crazy completionists, a death clock would also unlock. When you grab it, it would disable all checkpoints on the level while also disabling the death counter. When you run through the level and when you eventually die, instead of going back to the checkpoint, you start from the beginning again. The reason is that if you are trying to go for the insanely perfect relic and you die, instead of restarting the level and sitting through the loading screen again, you can just restart from the beginning once more and try again instantly. You still could unlock the insanely perfect relic without activating the clock, but this would be simply an assistance to those who are revisiting the level to get the insanely perfect relic. Now, this is just speculation. It could be me just projecting a feature that I would have wished would have been in the game. Now, there might be even more cut content and ideas that will surface at a later time, and if so, you better believe that I will talk about it on this channel, so make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on that. Did these things deserve to be cut, and what content do you wish wasn't cut? Comment below and let me know. Thank you so much to all those who not only support the channel, but myself and my family. Because of your contributions, I'm able to do this full time. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider clicking the join button or becoming a Patreon with the link in the description. I also live stream every Thursday and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on by and say hi. Again, thank you to everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video and or live stream.